All right, let's get some expert analysis now and bring in former FBI agent Scott Curtis for more on this. Scott, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, no problem.
So let's pick up on what my colleague at Lavendera just was reporting on a short while ago. Publicly, authorities maintain that there is no suspect or no person of interest. But is it possible that authorities have indeed perhaps some information, but they don't really, it's not so urgent to get that information out to the public at this point? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I believe at this point that the FBI has narrowed their focus. They probably have come up with a solid theory about who was involved and maybe why they were involved in this kidnapping. I don't believe it was all about money. There may be some underlying reasons why they did what they did here, and hopefully that'll be disclosed at the appropriate time. But the FBI right now is doing, I would say, a bunch of interviewing and review and analysis of a bunch of data that they have collected. And based on that information are coming up with additional leads to pursue or additional questions to go back to people that they've already interviewed to try to clarify some things, to try to pinpoint who the suspects may be at this point.
And so if authorities are taking that strategic path where they are holding some of that critical information close to the vest, to protect the integrity of the investigation, I'm curious, does that speak to perhaps a change in the level of urgency that authorities are approaching the situation with?
Well, that's a good point that you bring up there, because I questioned the lack of urgency on behalf of the kidnappers from the beginning of this whole ordeal here. They've taken an 84-year-old woman in bad health. Why wasn't there this immediate urgency to communicate their demands and to get what they wanted out of this situation there? Why did it drag on so long? Now, I think the investigators, the FBI, is using this time to their advantage so they can, again, narrow their focus, identify potential subjects, and pursue and collect appropriate evidence.
I'm also curious in getting your thoughts about how unusual it is to not have, at this point, established two-way communication between the family and captors. And again, that's just based on what's publicly available.
Yeah, it is unusual. Again, in a usual kidnapping scenario there, a kidnapper would want to set up a direct line of communication with the victim's family there so they can communicate back and forth, communicate their demands, establish a deadline, and get what they want in short order here, because, again, time is of the essence. And in this situation, because of Nancy Guthrie's age and health there, that increases the fact of that. So, again, it's unusual why it was so vague and indirect there. And that's why I think there may have been some other motives besides just money in the situation.
It was vague and indirect, but then when you look at the latest video from the Guthrie family that was posted on Saturday, in fact, as you were speaking just now, we were showing video of Savannah flanked by her siblings. It almost seems that she directly addresses a possible captor, saying that they received their message and that she and her family understand, is how Savannah puts it. She then pleads for her mother's return so they can, quote, celebrate with her. When you listen to that, I'm curious what your takeaway from that message is, aside from the incredible strength that's on display from Savannah and her siblings.
I think there is some indication there that Savannah and her siblings believe it's possible that the worst possible outcome may be facing them in this situation here. But that being said, they still would want their mother returned to them. Their worst nightmare is that they pay this money and their mother is never returned to them, or it's a length of time before anybody finds where their mother is located. And so they want to make sure, at a minimum, if they're going to pay this money, if something did tragically happen to their mother, that at least they know where to go collect their mother, or their mother is returned to them.
No, it's an important point. It's certainly a difficult conversation to have, but certainly also important to not lose sight of the fact that investigators say that they're still confident that she's alive, that they're working hard to get her back, and that the fate and her whereabouts still remain unknown now as we enter week 2. Scott Curtis, really appreciate your expertise on this. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.